Going on, Falcon fans? This is what I can do. Come back at you with another video. And as you can see, looking at the topic, the question for today, with all the decisions and all the moves the Falcons have made so far, how good can the Falcons be in 2024? This is really all about when a report came out saying that the Atlanta Falcons is by top 12 and Super Bowl contenders now, just because of the moves they make so far this off season. But the question is, how good is the Falcons? Are the Falcons on the verge of being a Super Bowl contender? We will answer that question today. We'll get into a big rule change potentially that could affect the game, especially from a defensive standpoint. We'll get into the roster. We'll talk about a lot of things today, but I really want to get you guys' take, excuse me here, on how good the Atlanta Falcons can be in 2024. It always a big topic this time of the year. Every teams come in and they have positive vibes about how good this team can be, the transformation they have. Every coach says that the team they had last season is not the same team they bringing back. And for the most part, that is true. You always, change position, get other guys in, you get younger guys in, you get youngers because you utilize the draft, you get free agency in, things like that. It's rarely that a teams come back with the same guys they had their prior season. It always some changes somewhere, right? The biggest thing that you always want to look at in those key positions is the changes and how that can affect, a team's fortunes going into the next season. Look at teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the move they made when they brought in Tom Brady. You look at the trade that the Los Angeles Rams made when they brought in Matthew Stafford, right? That's just talking about the quarterback position. But if you bring in the trade they had for Jalen Ramsey, when they went and got Von Miller, those moves all contributed into their Super Bowl that they was able to bring home a couple of seasons ago. So those are the kind of moves you're looking at when you doing your off season work. That's why these GMs, you know, that's what they get paid the big money for, to put the best players on the field for coaches can go out and do the things that they do. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button. So I know you guys out here that I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So the first topic I'm gonna get into today, guys, is definitely, and I just brought it up. It's a new rule that the competition committee is trying to implement, and it's on the hip tackle um, that defenders use on guys running down the field. It causes injury to a lot of players um, because a player is grabbing the guy from behind, pulling him by his hips, and then he snatching him to the ground. Um, it is a dangerous play, but at the end of the day, it is football. I think that the biggest egregious thing about this rule is that if they implement this rule, if it's a hip tackle, basically it's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. That's huge, right? And what we starting to see in NFL, which is I still think it's the greatest game in the world, right? But what we're starting to see from an NFL standpoint is the fact that it's getting more offensive oriented. At the end of the day, they wanted to be more offense. They want to see a lot of points on the board, and the defense is just it's so hard for guys on defense to play defense. They don't know how to bring guys down. So now when you're chasing the guy from behind, um, you can't pull him down from behind. You already can't do, the horse collar tackle. Now you can't do the hip tackle if they implement this rule. Um, so it's really hard to play defense in the league today. And in the end of the day, it's a new rule to help the offense, right? So um, That's why when you're thinking about it, you need to have a good offense because if defense is getting handicapped so much now to the point where um, it's hard for them to play. This rule right here will really, really, really hurt some teams if you think about it. Say if it's a third and long play, um, it's a shallow cross for 7 yards, and they got to get 10, and you make the tackle and you stop them short. It's 4th and 3, right? 4th and 3. But if you utilize this tackle, which is going to be determined illegal tackle now, it'll be 15 yards and automatic first down. That's huge. That could change a lot of games. Um, and that's what you don't want to see. You don't want to see penalties and things like that change games. I understand the safety aspect of in the NFL trying to utilize the safety more and more to make the game safe. But when you start to take away defenders for just trying to get a guy on the ground, that's what they get paid to do is make the tackle and get a guy. Now you're telling them you got to in a split second figure out how to get this guy on the ground when he's maybe 25, 30 pounds heavier than you. Think about guys trying to tackle a Derrick Henry. You're going to get Derrick Henry down the best way you can. I mean, it's just that simple. So you have to understand where the NFL is going. And in my opinion, when you rules like this, um, it's just always, to me, it affects the defensive side of the ball more than it affects the offense. You rarely see rules that's made in this league to hinder what offense is able to do. I mean, they do have the targeting with the helmet for running backs. Runners can't lower their head when they run the ball. But I mean, what other rules that you can think from an offensive standpoint that really hurts the offense? Um, I mean, for the most part, you don't really see a lot of rules that affect offense. That's why the league is going offense. That's why you have to respect, you know, defensive player, defensive coaches, the schemes they put up to try to stop these prolific offenses these days. And once more rules and more rules come out, um, the game is going to change, and you're going to get people, you know, that's old school, that's not going to like the direction where the league going. But if the NFL decide to implement this drop tackle as a legal play, um, teams will be charged that 15-yard penalty and automatic first down. So in my opinion, this is a big rule, and I like I said again, it kind of hinders defense and it helps the offense out. Um, some players out there are dirty. I do get it. It is some dirty players in this league, but for most part, when guys are trying to get guys on down, they're not thinking about this. Eventually, they'll figure out how to make adjustments because they always do. That's what they have to do. And if you look at where you can hit a quarterback in the pocket, you pretty much can hit him from his chest to his waist. Because if you hit him anywhere else, it's probably going to be a penalty. So, um, and most players have learned you know to try to play within the rules when it comes to hitting quarterbacks. Dropping on the quarterback with your full body weight. You see a lot of players when they go down, they had their arms wide open like this and try to slide off to one side or the other because they don't want to get that penalty. So that's what happens. That's how it is. But guys, let me know what you think about this new rule. Do you think it's going to be um, really detrimental to games where, like I just described, where it's a big play at the end of the game, and this rule could change the whole outcome of the game because it's a 15-yard penalty. Yes, you put it in the same line with a pass interference, like I said, a late hit on the quarterback, a targeting penalty, so on and so forth. You notice all those penalties I just talked about was on the defensive side. So once again, a new rule to help the offensive part of the NFL. All right, guys, let's get into my main topic for today. Like I said, the biggest reason I wanted to talk about this today is because like I said, it was a report that came out saying that the Atlanta Falcons, based off the moves they have made this offseason so far, and most of the moves have been on the offensive side of the ball. They did bring in Contavious Street. Of course, they signed Nate Landman back, of course, but for the most part, most moves been made on the offensive side. In particular, they went and got their quarterback one in Kirk Cousins, and they revamped off the receiver room as well with the sign of Darnell Mooney, trade for Rondé Moore, um, bringing in Ray McLeod, and bringing back Cardell Hodge. So they revamped the whole receiver room along with Kirk Cousins. Um, and with just those moves alone, basically a lot of people are saying that the Atlanta Falcons is now a Super Bowl contender, right? That's amazing because when you look at this roster, and the reason I have a question mark behind this roster because I would say if you looked at the roster today, the Atlanta Falcons is not considered a Super Bowl contender as of yet, right? It's a long time left. Free agency is still in full effect. You have the draft coming up, so there's a lot of growth that can be done to this roster. A lot of improvements can be done to this roster. But as of right now, you're looking at the roster, in my opinion, there are just too many holes. So the question to me, how good can the Falcons be? It's incomplete because this roster is not complete yet. It's too many holes on this roster where the Atlanta Falcons need to address. On particular, it's the defensive side of the ball. If you can recall, last year we talked about how explosive the defense looked based on from the last two previous seasons under this new regime. But last season, the defense made a tremendous step forward. Um, but you just look at the roster and how constructed from last season this season. Um, we already lost bodies, right? We lost Calais Campbell, who's one of our leading sack getters with the team, along with Bud Dupree. Neither one of those guys are back on the roster. Um, we lost Jeff Okuda, who was our second um, number two cornerback on the roster. Right now, we're playing a second year rookie, probably potentially could be that number two. Mike Hughes is still here along with the offer. But if you look at those are holes as well that we need to fill. Um, the biggest thing, with this roster to me, they have to figure out the pass rush. Until they figure out the pass rush, um, it's still going to be an incomplete roster to me. I just don't see how the Falcons cannot, you know, make a move with the defensive line, especially in the pass rush position, and don't improve. So if they do not make a move with the pass rush, I think it's really going to hurt them in the long run. So that's why I believe with the roster, I mean, they still have opportunity to fix some of these issues. But if you look at our roster in the whole right now, if you're just going off the defense, I think the starters, if you're looking at the new scheme that's going to be implemented when Jimmy Lake said we're going base 3-4 defense, our two outside linebackers would be starting right now will be Katie and probably Lorenzo Carter on the outside. Our linebackers, it will be between Kay Nellis, Troy Anderson, and Nate Lemon. One of those guys will be on the inside. Two of those guys will be on the inside. Um, your interior guys, um, in my opinion, would definitely be Grady and David Mayada. Um, but that would be your front seven. That would be your front seven if you're looking at that 3-4 style defense, which means Lorenzo Carter and Armor Eric Cady is your potential, pass rushers that's going to be trying to get after the quarterback. Now we've seen um, Armor Ebikadi take steps forward towards the end of the season. However, in my opinion, Armor Ebikadi still have a lot of growing to do. But players can make jumps. We talk about it all the time. It's like a little cliche saying that when you want to expect players to make the jump from, you know, year one to year two, now Arnold Epicady case will be from year 2 to year 3, right? So we want to see that jump. He was a second round pick. You see the flashes that he have. I think he is able to contain on the edge, so he's not um, really a detriment on that aspect. But what they need Armor Advocated to do is start to create pressures to be able to get after the passer. I think Lorenzo Carter is better at um, covering the edge. However, I think he lacks the explosiveness to get after the passer on a consistent basis. He's not you know completely bad. He does have potential. He does um, can come in and make plays in spots. But what we need from a pass rusher, we need a consistent guy, somebody there is going to bring in and force teams to bring a guy over there to chip. That's what you're going to need when you think about a pass rusher. And to be honest, the Atlanta Falcons have not had that in a long time. So, in my opinion, when you look at the question, how good the Atlanta Falcons team can be, the first thing I think about the roster. And if you look at the roster right now, in my opinion, it's incomplete. I love the moves they made on the offensive side of the ball. Um, they probably can still fill depth pieces there as well. I think you need to make sure that your offensive line has depth because you want to be able to keep your quarterback upright. So it's no ifs, ands, or but about that. You have to make sure that you create depth. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons do add more offensive linemen to create that depth. We know they signed Storm Norton back, and they also signed Ryan Newsel back as well on the offensive line. Um, our fighting starting offensive line is all intact. The question is, when the Atlanta Falcons potentially changing their scheme to be more pass oriented offense, we want to know if Caleb McGarry can hold up. We know his strength is in running game, but when it comes to pass protections, he has been really up and down his whole career. So that's why you want to be able to create that depth, just in case you need to be able to fill somebody in that role if Caleb McGarry cannot get the job done. Um, but from the offensive standpoint, if they add depth in those places, even at the receiver room, you love them, the additions they made at the receiver. Um, Darnell Mooney could potentially be a number 2 receiver. If he could go back to his 2021 season, right? That's what we want to see from Darnell Mooney. Um, but you like the additions they made, but they also can add depth there. You can anticipate the Atlanta Falcons having 6 to 7 receivers. Right now, they at 5. Um, so they definitely can add another guy or two, potentially in the draft to boost up that wide receiver room. You love Weird at the running back position. With B. John, you got Tyler Algier, and you got Avery Williams as well. I think you look like he may be the odd man out. But I think his position is safe. The issue with Avery Williams is that the fact that his biggest asset was being on special teams. But with the addition of Ray McLeod, now you're not 100% sure what role Avery Williams is actually going to play on you know on this roster. One thing we do know, before Avery Williams went down the season before, he led the league in punt return yardage by average. So he does have the potential to still be a punt returner. We don't know, you know, how he will look coming back off the injury, but with the addition of Ray McLeod, it counted clouds Avery Williams, you know, spot and what role he's going to actually play on this team. But guys, the biggest issue when we're looking at this roster is 100%, in my opinion, is on the defensive side of the ball. Um, just talking about it in particular is that pass rush position. Atlanta Falcons have many opportunities to add this, so it's not um, that they shit out of luck, because they are not, right? There's still free agents out there that they could bring in. They still make potential trades. It's a rumor out there by trying to get Hassan Reddick from the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, if they can make that trade, at a good efficient cost, that would be a outstanding idea for them to do. We know that the Philadelphia Eagles actually moved the roster bonus to April, so they had more time, which means they might more than likely looking to trade him. But other teams are probably bidding as well. And in the past history, Atlanta Falcons have really got outbidded when trying to go after pass rusher. So it'd really be interesting to see if they can make a move like that. That would be really big for the Atlanta Falcons to get a guy like Hassan Reddick in here. You go back and look at his numbers, been consistent throughout his career so far. So going to get a guy like Hassan Reddick would be really huge for the Atlanta Falcons. However, they can definitely, you know, address that position as well in the draft. Three guys potentially, you know, could could fall at number 8 if the Atlanta Falcons so choose to pick one of them. And we know those guys: Jared Verse, Lato, Latu, and then Dallas Turner, right? And it's been reported that the Atlanta Falcons definitely having a meeting with Dallas Turner. They had their pro day, so that Dallas Turner and a lot of teams like him. So he just named me with the Falcons. He met with the Bears, who have the number 9 pick. I think he met with the Vikings, who have the number 11 pick. So Dallas Turner is definitely coming off the board early, in my opinion, right now. And I think he's the lead guy that's in the room for as being the first defender potentially to come off the board. And he could be coming off the board to the Atlanta Falcons. It's a big need for Atlanta Falcons. I know this regime has not really went for needs, but at the same time, he could be the best available player when it all comes boils down to it at the number 8th overall pick. So that's how they address that position. I think we're really good at the linebacker position, but I think the other position the Atlanta Falcons need to address is the cornerback position. We talked about that. Um, so they need to make an upgrade there. And then last but not least, if you look at the safety positions, um, we solid there. But if you want to make upgrades there, you can as well. I would not be upset if they decide to make upgrades at the safety position. So, guys, when we talk about how good this Atlanta Falcon team can be, in my opinion, the answer at this point, early, in the off season, still in March, I would give it an incomplete because of the roster. And I'm definitely want to know what you guys think about that when we talking about how good this Atlanta Falcon team could be. All right. The next point that you definitely want to consider when you talk about how good this team can be is how quick can the team gel to the new schemes, right? Um, it's no secret that the Atlanta Falcons have a new coaching staff. Now they kept a lot of coaches intact here on this roster. Um, Huge guys, that's going to factor into how the Atlanta Falcons going to play. You look at a guy like Jerry Gray, who's the secondary coach. So you look at what he could actually bring forward. What they did the last year with this Atlanta Falcons team in the secondary is huge for this team to hit the ground running. You look at a guy like Dwayne Leffert, who stayed here with that offensive line that's already intact. He understands the running scheme, right? He actually got the title of being the run game coordinator. So you like that, right? But when we talk about the coordinators in particular, you talk about like a guy like Jimmy Lake, who's actually going back to similar or what something like Dean Pease maybe did a multiple scheme where the base is 3-4, right? When last year we had went solely to a 4-3 defense um base, right? I think no team right now in this league is 100% one dimensional. They do just one thing. I think most defenses is multiple. A lot of defenses has really went nickel right now because of the passing attack in the league, which create like boxes for a lot of defenses, right? That's why I like the additions of guys like Caden Ellis and Nate Landman, and Troy Anderson, because those guys are, bigger built linebackers instead of the fast, light linebackers that you know, camouflage as safeties when you think about it. Some of these linebackers are so small, but I like the linebackers that Atlanta Falcons have. So, we do go in these like boxes. You kind of can still handle the run game, that's where it affects you. But the question for me when I think about how good the Atlanta Falcons can be in 2024 is how quick can this team gel to the new schemes, right? Um, if you listen to what Jimmy Lake said, it sounds so eerily familiar to Arthur Smith, for Dan Quinn when he said physical and fast, right? He's fast, quick, and physical. This is what he said. It kind of sounded like Dan Quinn a little bit when he was talking about this defense. But the biggest thing that I like was he wanted to simplify it for his players where they can actually play fast. They can react fast. They can get to the ball fast. They can react to you know, to the ball to go create turnovers, things like that. That is huge. So you don't want to make it too difficult. Um, you can run multiple schemes um, out of if you just look at the pedigree um, coaching of a guy like Raheem Morris and Jimmy Lake. They've been in different defenses since they've been coaching. You know, Raheem Morris comes from the Tampa 2 defense, right? But if you go back and look what he did with Los Angeles Rams, it was a more of a different scheme that he ran. So um, that tells you that he's not locked in on one particular scheme. You have to run this scheme to figure it out. To me, it means that he's able to be multiple, be able to change game plans based off the opponent you're playing, be able to utilize the personnel to their strengths, um, and that's what you like when you're looking at um, this coaching staff for Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris. Like I said, the addition of Jerry Gray, I like potential what this scheme can do. However, the question is how quick can these players grasp the scheme and be able to hit the ground running. Usually, when you got a new coaching staff, you know the owner gives these guys leeway to build a culture and grow it, to fit, the new coaching staff. However, this is a little different because the Atlanta Falcons has a lot of expectations this year, and if like we just mentioned, they already picked to be a Super Bowl contender, so it's important for this team to hit the ground running right off the start. They can't afford to try to figure it out in the first quarter of the season. They need to hit the ground running. So the question is, how quick can this team gel? From a new scheme, from a defensive standpoint. Um, we talk about the offensive standpoint. Our offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, has never called offensive plays, right? So how quick can him and Kirk Cousins get on the same page along with these pass catchers who's going to be asked to do some things that since they've been to the league they have not done before when their route concepts, being able to be be utilized a little bit more in the passing game. Um, Now Kyle Pitts, go back to a little bit, he will utilize a little bit more his first season when we had Matty Ice here. But however, when you're looking at what you see from this offense, how quick can they learn the scheme? You hear Kirk Cousins in his introductory press conference, he talking about that they already behind the power curve, right? Um, the good things about it is that he been in this system before. He can actually help speed up the process. Get with Zach Robinson, on what he don't like and what he do like, right? Then get with his playmakers and try to build some kind of chemistry. So that's the biggest thing. For me, the question is how good can this Atlanta Falcons team be in 2024? It's going to be how quick can this team gel to the new schemes, and hopefully we see them gel quick. That's where OTAs, that's what all this time, getting together is about. Be able to implement this stuff because Raheem Morris does not have the luxury of sitting back and trying to figure out um, how to this team to play. They got to hit the ground running, man. It's just that simple. All right, you go out and you give your quarterback 90 million guaranteed, right? Over the first two seasons. So that means you're in the win now mode, in my opinion, right? Go back to the first point I made with the roster. Since you're in a win now mode, you need to make sure your roster is in the win now mode as well, right? Yes, you have young, talented players that needs to grow, but can you afford opportunity for these guys to grow? Can you afford another season of Armand Katie trying to figure it out? Can you afford another opportunity of D'Angelo Malone trying to figure it out? Can you afford another opportunity of Richard Grant trying to figure it out? Those are questions you got to ask yourself when you go out and you sign Kirk Cousins, right, to the deal that you sign him to. So um, these guys got to hit the ground running. So, in my opinion, when you're looking at the scheme, right, new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, how quick can this team gel? And if they gel quickly, we start to see it, and we get into preseason, and you see them hitting on our cylinders, we can start get a better feel for how this team going to be in 2024, right? So new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. That's going to be huge moving forward. Next point, and I think this is obvious. This is really obvious. It takes a little luck and a little help in this league to get to where you want to get, right? It's really that simple. You think about it. If you look at the trajectory of uh, um, the Cincinnati Bengals, who was just in the Super Bowl, but their quarterback went down, Joe Burrow, and it's see how quick it derailed the season for those guys. So um, it's just 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 not going for them. Um, you look what happened to the Jets, right? Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in, go down, right? So luck and health, in my opinion, always going to determine how well teams do, in this league. Their luck and their health always determine that. You got Kenny Kellett says the Falcons are cursed. Um, the Falcons curse is a lot of other teams curse too, because I just mentioned, two franchises that they franchise quarterback went down, and they had high hopes, right? If you look at the Buffalo Bills, their whole secondary pretty much get injured, right? Look at the Miami Dolphins; most of their defensive linemen go down. Um, so all these teams that have these great expectations coming into the season, right? And injuries. So luck and health is really a big, huge thing for for any team in this league, and it could derail your season really, really quick. I believe that if Grady Jarrett doesn't get hurt, the Atlanta Falcons season could be different. Just bringing him in, Dave Mamiyata took an ankle injury, and he was hampered too throughout the season. So just those two guys alone, guys that was really, really instrumental in stopping the run early in the season. Those guys go down, and then you can see where the defense started to falter off a little bit. I still think they played well, but losing key guys like that, that's why the depth that we just talked about, the depth we think about the roster. When I gave it an incomplete, that's why I mentioned that, because when you lose key players, you want guys to be able to step in. Um, Look how Nate Landman stepped in at the linebacker position when Troy Anderson went down. And we talking about an undrafted free agent coming in, having 110 tackles. That's what I'm talking about. So you know, you have to have luck and you have to have help. To me, that's what determines how good they can be, right? It's just March. I'm not ready to put a a record on this team, because it's not ready. It's incomplete. Um, it's so many factors that you got to factor in. I just talked about the scheme. How quick can they adjust to the scheme? We talk about the roster, but then you look at the luck and the health of this team, and that is huge all the way around. What's going on, Billy Goat? Um, so that's important. You got to be able to um, be healthy. Just that simple. We go back a couple seasons in Dan Quinn era, right? We see Keanu O'Neal go down. We see um, our safety go down, right? Matter of fact, we see our Deion Jones, Keanu O'Neal, our safety, all three of the guys go down, and the season pretty much lost that season, right? Because those are young, up and coming players that really played well um, in that Super Bowl season. Then all those guys go down, and now we're really hurt, right? That's what happens. That's what I mean about health and luck. We just gotta have it. It's always important. Even looking at two of our biggest players on this team, those guys coming back from injuries. I'm talking about Kirk Cousins, the guy we just signed, right? Who seems like he's on target to be back, or start a training camp, which is huge. And then Grady Jarrett, the guy I just mentioned on the defense side of the ball, went down with his injury. Kyle Pitts, is he going to be back 100% healthy? Those are some key players that I'm talking about when we talking about luck and health. So how good can this team be? Good as they want to be with luck and health, right? But that goes for any team in the NFL. It's not just the Falcons. So um, that goes without saying, but that does factor in how good they can be because it doesn't matter. You can't use it as an excuse. But I mean, the Jets going to say, "Well, we were Super Bowl contenders to our quarterback went down, but they failed because they didn't have a backup quarterback." So you mean tell me that that team was a Super Bowl contender, but they lose the quarterback, just one person, and the whole team um, can't win a game, right? I understand the quarterback is a big thing, but that is really, really they failed because they failed to go get a backup quarterback. Then that's what it really boils down to. Um, so, and then the last point I'm gonna make today is how do we stack up against the rest of the teams in NFC? That's the question, right? Because they always say, how good can this team be? Well, you have to look at across the landscape of the NFL, and we're just going to focus on NFC right now because you go to AFC, the other Falcons would be down the list because if you look at some of those teams, the AFC, that's going to be a gauntlet over in the AFC. Now we have to place on the AFC teams, but we have to just really focus on, our NFC record and make sure that we can have the best record in the NFC. Um, but when we look at the NFC, how do we stack up? So I think we all had a consensus that probably 49ers will be the top team in the NFC. Um, you look at what the Detroit Lions was able to do, advance. Um, so the question is, how do we stack up with both of those teams, right? So for us, offenses, I think the Atlanta Falcons offense on paper stacks up well with both of those teams, right? On paper, I think quarterbacks are comparable all across the board from Jared Goff to Brock Purdy to Kirk Cousins. I think we could all say that that's comparable. We look at the skill positions. Um, don't want to, Chris McCaffrey is a beast. Debo Samuel is a beast. Um, but if you look at our guys on paper, right, we got to remember we got three guys on this offense that was all drafted in the top 10, right? The potential should be there for those guys. Um, Let many say that it was the quarterback, the play calling that was holding their potential down. I think this year we're going to get a chance to see that. So we talk about an offense side, we stack up against the 49ers and the Detroit Lions, who many would say would be, the cream of the crop in the NFC, right? We go to the Green Bay Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles, right? You look at the skill positions. I think we stack up well with those two teams as well, right? That's where you're looking. The Dallas Cowboys, everybody want to put the Cowboys, but I think from a skill position at this point, I think the Atlanta Falcons have a better um, skill position on paper. Now, I'm saying on paper, guys, because these guys got to prove it. They got to go out and produce and put up the numbers that that a CD Lamb put up, right? We got to see that. Drake London have to put up some numbers like similar to that. But when we talk about on paper, I think the Atlanta Falcons match up well with these offenses across the NFC. We can go all the way down to our division. Yes, across the NFC, our offense, the Atlanta Falcons on paper, stacks up well against all those teams. That's why it's huge when you go to the defensive side of the ball. That's when you have to start to look at the Atlanta Falcons and where the question is where they stack up. That's where you might have to start putting your questions at, right? Because right now on paper, from a defensive standpoint, the Atlanta Falcons don't have that dynamic pass rusher like the 49ers do, like the Detroit Lions do, like the Dallas Cowboys do, right? They don't have that dynamic pass rusher, right? That's where you have to start fixing those 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 positions from a defensive standpoint if you want to stack up against teams in NFC. From an offensive standpoint, I think our Atlanta Falcon team can actually play with any of these guys, right? On paper, I'm going to keep saying on paper because these guys got to put up these numbers. Some of these other teams are putting up from an offensive standpoint. But with the addition of Kirk Cousins, I think Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, the additions of Darnell Mooney and all those guys can have potential to put up some of those same, similar statistics that these guys have that these other teams have done from an offensive standpoint. The problem is for our Atlanta Falcons is on the defensive side of the ball where that's where we have holes that we need to fill and fix. Um, that's where I think we need to really look into and dig into where the Atlanta Falcons need to invest. Now we haven't had any reason these last 3 seasons to kind of you know figure out what Terry Fontenot is doing. Right, seems like he always be on it. He has the pulse on what needs to get done, how to make this team better. Right, it might not be happening as fast as we want to see it, but I believe that um, what I just talked about when we try to stack up against teams in NFC, right? He understands that from a defensive standpoint, this team has to improve. Charlie Quest said was good. Um, Saints fan here, but y'all boys been making moves. Yes, I do like some of the moves that the Aints been making, but I can tell you this: I don't like giving Chase Young 13 million guaranteed. I don't like that move by the New Orleans team. So um, you have to explain that one to me. I get it. You guys need a pass rusher. You're hoping he could finally live up to his hype, but 13 million guaranteed. Now he having surgery that won't be ready for training camp. Somebody had to explain that to me. I think they overpaid for Chase Young. I really do. Y'all still owe us. Yep, you sure do. We appreciate you for Terry Fontenot, man. You says we were desperate to give Chase that money so he wouldn't leave the building without it. It seems like it. I agree. It seems like that's what happened. Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, that's a good deal for him. But I mean, if he live up to the hype, I mean, it'll work out for you guys. I don't like it because you're not a vision. His potential is there, but I think it was overpay, in my opinion, to go out and get him that much money. But he's with the team now. Um, I will not be rooting for you guys all season. Just to let you give you a heads up on that. I will not be rooting. But when we talk about the Falcons, guys, we talk about NFC, right? It starts in our own division, right? And we just talk about the New Orleans team, right? And you look at those guys, they always gonna give the Atlanta Falcons problems. It's the rivalry, right? It's don't matter who's there. It always gonna be that way. It just is. We split last year. Um, it won't be easy this year. Don't matter what our team is like. I love going to those games, those New Orleans Atlanta matches ups, because it's all love and hate at the same time. So, but we see how we stack up against that team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think they got worse, right? They was able to bring back, um, Mike Evans. They was able to bring back Baker Mayfield, but they did lose their starting corner, right? They lost one of their starting linebackers, right? I think they got worse. We'll see what they do in the draft, but I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got worse, right? You look at the Carolina Panthers. In my opinion, um, they're going to be better, right? I do like the additions that they made for their young quarterback, right? Bringing in those offensive alignments they brought in, the pass catchers they brought in, trading for Deontay Johnson. So I love the moves that they made for Bryce Young from a Carolina Panther standpoint, but they're going to be better because they have nowhere to go but up, right? From looking about what they was able to do, last season. So, but when it comes to Atlanta Falcons, um, how we stack up against NFC vice, how we stack up NFC South is different, right? That's where the Atlanta Falcons need to focus on first, and that's what they said. Focus on winning NFC South, and then you worry about NFC, right? But so when we talk about NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons are right there. Um, I think we stack up well from an offense and defensive standpoint from every other team in the division. So, of course, it already been noted that Atlanta Falcons is rated to win the division, right? I don't think that's a surprise. I think they was slated to win the division last season, right? So that's not really a big surprise that the Atlanta Falcons there, but it doesn't mean it. None of that stuff matters, right? When I keep talking about our offense on paper, right? Talk about we're favored to win this division. We're Super Bowl contender. None of that stuff matters, man. You got to go out and you got to perform, right? Atlanta Falcons underperformed this past season. There's no doubt about it. They underperformed this past season. Everybody know that. What's up, Millie Mills? Um, those two O linemen, the Carolina help them new head coach Will Young. Yes, yeah, those two guards they brought in for Bryce Young was huge. Was huge for him. They overpaid for him for them guys too, but they had money to spend, so that's usually what happened in free agency. Um, I don't understand the Aints because they didn't have money to spend. They overpaid for Chase Young, but the Carolina Panther had money to spend, so I understand you're gonna go out and get your two guards to protect your young quarterback. So that was big for them. Um, Atlanta should be the favorite right now, right? We should be, but we have an incomplete team. That's where we're at right now. We're incomplete, guys. I mean, don't get ahead of ourselves. Remember last year. Let's stay where we're at. Stay grounded. Let's see what Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris can can do to continue to build this team. That's what we want to see, right? Because right now, when I just talked about NFC in the whole, Atlanta Falcons, when it comes to complete team, we probably 6 or 7 right now, right? And that's because of the defensive side of the ball. That's why I think we're hurting the most when it comes to um, the NFC because of our defense, right? And and I'm talking about one position in particular because you look at the 49ers, look at their pass rush, right? You look at the Detroit Lions, look at their pass rush. You look at the Cowboys, look at their pass rush. Um, that's what I mean about where we need to boost up our defense. Our pass rush improved. It did. It improved. However, we need a dynamic pass rusher. And if they have to wait to the draft to do it, um, they need to double down at least, right? They need to get bodies there. I still think they need to make a move in free agency before that, right? I mean, even if they just bring back guys that we had here last season, and guys like Calais Campbell and Bud Dupree, that would be something. That would be something, right? So um, we starting to feel a little impatient right now because Terry Fontenot haven't moved, right? He's doing what he do. Like one thing about this organization, we don't hear anything until a move is made, and then you're like, wow, right? Because I don't think nobody thought Darnell Mooney was on the Falcons target list. I don't think nobody thought that Atlanta Falcons about to trade Desmond Ritter to the Arizona Cardinals. So when moves are made by this organization, it is surprising most of the time, right? Every now and then, I think the writing was out on Kirk Cousins. I think we all know that Atlanta Falcons was going to try to go get Kirk Cousins. I think last year everybody knew that we were trying to get Jesse Bates, right? But for the most part, it's a lot of moves, good surprising moves that Atlanta Falcons make that um we'd be surprised about. So right now, we sitting back and we was like, Atlanta Falcons got $3 million in cap space, right? We can't add anybody on free agency, and then out the blue, we start to hear news coming out. Moves that Atlanta Falcons have made, right? I still anticipate AJ Terrell contract to be signed sometime this offseason. I really believe that. Um, I believe some restructures is going to be done as well to some of these players that we have on long-term contracts that we know are going to be with the team a while. Guys like Chris Lindstrom, Jesse Bates. I can see their contracts being restructured, right? Um, Still could see potential cuts, right? You never know what the Atlanta Falcons are waiting on and things like that. So we just have to sit back, be patient. I think they have looked at this roster. They did a deep dive in this roster, and they know it's still incomplete. There's some holes out there that we need to fill. But if you're just looking at how the Atlanta Falcons stack up to the NFC, um, all we got to do is win the NFC South, and we host a playoff game. So that's where our mindset should be. NFC South, right? The Atlanta Falcons was in it, right? Think about it. We had a quarterback, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 12 fumbles, and we still was in it in the last week of the season to win the division. Just think about it, guys. Just think about that. Desmond Ritter had a triple double, and we still had a chance to win the division. Mealy Mills says Bryce's problem is too damn small. That's it. If he's able to grow about to 6'3" off season, then they got a chance. If not, I mean, if you look at his skill set, I agree about his stature. You're right about that. But his skill set, man, he's an accurate passer. I just think he needs to be developed more. I mean, I think he was set up last year. I mean, they traded away the best target, bring in guys that was over the hill, from receiving standpoint, like Adam Thielen, right? He was set up. It's just that simple. But I think the offensive lineman they got, the additions on defense, the pass catchers that they was able to bring in, I think is really going to help Bryce Young. And the jury's still out on him, right? He's the number one overall draft pick, but the jury's still out how good he actually can be in this league. John Marino says, what's going on, Racona? Rumors I'm hearing that the Falcons fall flat this year, that the GM is gone. I think that's bullshit. I'm sure he didn't get old man Kirk. Um, I don't know, but for me, I don't. There's so many rumors out there. I haven't heard that rumor, but based off what Terry Fontenot has been able to do this year, um, I mean, these last 3 seasons, in my opinion, he's done an outstanding job, right? And at the end of the day, when you think about what Atlanta Falcons did at the quarterback position, they got the best quarterback that was out there on the market. It's just that simple, right? You could talk about youth. We could talk about going and get draft picks. The Atlanta Falcons was in the top three. They would have drafted one of the young guys. That's just that simple. But when you look at the direction they had to go, to position this teams in that potentially that could win, um, and compete for a potential title, right? They had to go out and make the decision. So that I don't think it was a I don't think it was a bad decision. I think actually, when you break it down, it probably was the right decision to make because of where this organization at this point. I think if they was a rebuilding team or something like that, I could see where the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, other people can see where they go get a younger talent, try to develop a guy, and see can they grow. But when you listen to the owner, when he felt like we had opportunity to be in the playoffs this year, and you see his mindset that he don't want to wait, right? That's why he went on and made a coaching change. You know, that's why they went and got Kirk Cousins. So I think they made the decision, um, that they need to make, and that's why the Atlanta Falcons are favored to win the division, and that's why they already moved up on the Super Bowl odds, right? Which is crazy to me, right? Because we only make additions on the offensive side of the ball. So that's saying a lot. What's going on, Kerry? Um, Kirk still got a lot to prove on one playoff win in his career. Yeah, that stat right there, the playoff win stats. Um, it to me that doesn't don't mean a lot in my opinion when you talk about playoff wins. I get it, I understand, um, but you look to me you have to look at how the players play in those games. It's vice the win because it's a team. It's a team win. I know win and losses always goes to the quarterback for some reason, but it's really the team who win and lose, right? But he has to. You right. He has to overcome that. And I hate to compare players, right? But Peyton Manning was in the league for a while. He couldn't win the big game either, right? I'm not comparing Peyton Manning to Kirk Cousins. I'm not even. Don't even go there, people. But what I'm saying is that you have to keep at it until you come over that hump. That's what you got to do. I always look at a guy like Matthew Stafford, right? And you look at the right. Matthew Stafford was on a 1-15 team before, a 1-15 team, right? And the Los Angeles Rams traded for him, and they won a Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying. You don't know what's going to happen, right? How much success Matthew Stafford had before he went to the Rams? See that's what I'm talking about, right? So you, people put out their stats and stuff because those are easy to define and be like, well, he's 1-3 and all this stuff. But you look at how they play, look at the teams, um, and you try to figure out what happened in those games, right? That's what you want to figure out, right? Did he crumble under pressure? That's what you go back and look at the games and see that, and then that's when you say, yeah, he plays good in regular season, but he come on. No, look at the games. See how many points he scored. See what he did. See how well he played, and then see if if he was the real reason they lost. Right. That's what you have to do. Um, but I like people to throw winning records and things like that. But I get it. As always, going to be a quarterback a stat. I assume when you're talking about they playoff records, but it's not all about the quarterback. Millie Mill says the thing I was looking for the franchise quarterback. Say you going about Kirk, but at the end of the day, he's a franchise quarterback at the minimum. We needed that 100%, right? That's what we got. We got a grown person in the room, and I don't care what nobody say, man. He's about to throw this ball around. I'm if anything, I'm excited by it for Drake London and Kyle Pitts, man. I'm happy for those guys because they finally finished show everybody what they all about. He's going to get them to Brock. I promise you that. If anything else don't happen, I don't know what our record is going to be. I don't know how good this team is going to be. But I can promise you, Drake London and Kyle Pitts is going to look a lot better this season. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. Charlie said you got one more than Carr. And the same thing with Carr. I don't think Carr is a pretty good quarterback, man. Like that's what I mean. You look at their records and you look at what the playoff records is, man. Like I get it. I get it. But don't put the quarterback stat. Don't make that a quarterback stat because it's not. Millie Bill says, um, and we didn't have to trade for him in this league. Franchise quarterback cost is which, yeah, right. The money, we don't really have to talk about the money because he count 25 mil towards the salary cap this season. That's awesome, right? I think that's 14th for starting quarterbacks right now, 25 mil, right? So that did not kill our salary cap at all, right? Now it's looking like it did because you're looking at the Falcons, they made no moves on defense, right? We like, well, obviously it did something because the Falcons ain't did nothing else. I get it. I see where everybody. I understand where people coming from. We think about like that, but they have moves. They easily open up the cap space. Just ask the Aints, man. They just gave Chase Young 13 million, and they was 80 million dollars over the cap before this new league year. So if the Falcons want to sign a player, they can figure out how to sign a player. Believe me on that. So Kirk Cousins' salary did not kill the cap. It did not. And we needed a quarterback. It's no ifs, ands, or buts. Millie Mills is 100% correct. We had to go out and get a quarterback. And man, I'm so excited to see what Drake London and Kyle Pitts gonna do. Can't wait. I can't wait, man. I just know they're gonna eat it up. I mean, I just go back and what Kyle Pitts did in his first season as a rookie with Matt Ryan. And remember, it was no other playmaker on the team that year. Remember, Calvin Ridley only played 5 games and he went on a hiatus. You guys recall that? It was only Kyle Pitts and CP on that squad, and Kyle Pitts put up 1,000 yards. Right? That was in 2021. Go back and look at that team and look at the playmakers we had. It was Kyle Pitts and Cardell Patterson. Kyle Pitts put up 1,000 yards. Look at the playmakers we got now. I think he's going to be 100% healthy. Kirk Cousins, 5 straight seasons with 4,000-yard passing, 8 straight 25 or more touchdown passes. Like, the guy throws the ball around, right? You guys can say what you want to say about it, but he get his playmakers the ball. That's what he do. And we have playmakers on this team. So I believe that we're going to be able to put up numbers. I'm not ready to say win them out or anything like that because, like I started this show off, this team is incomplete. It's not ready. That roster is not complete yet. So until we get a complete roster, until after the draft, until we start training camp, I'm not ready to claim that this team is a Super Bowl contender, favored to win the NFCs. I'm not ready to claim all that yet. They're going to be better, but the team is complete. You have to sit back and wait and see what happens, right? And that's where I'm at with it. So to wrap it all up, guys, the question of the day: how good can the 2024 Atlanta Falcons can be? From an offensive standpoint, they can be really, really good. Um, from a defensive standpoint, they still got room to grow. Um, they need to add more pieces. So from a team standpoint, the Atlanta Falcons definitely can compete in the NFC. They definitely can win NFC South. But you're going to put a question mark about it until we figure out what we do with the rest of our holes that we got to fill. So, guys, thank you guys for coming in. Honestly, this is the most people I have had um, on one of my lives, and I appreciate y'all, all you guys coming in tonight, listening to me. Um, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you have not already subscribed. Got a lot of more content coming on. Still waiting on Atlanta Falcons to make the moves they need to make, because once they do that, we definitely going to be able to bring them to you um, on this show. Um, love all you Falcon fans out there. And I always say this, when we talking about Falcon fans, like, if you're a Falcon fan, you are a real fan. That's why my channel says real Falcon fan. Because to be a Falcon fan, you have nothing to brag about. You have no Super Bowls. We have so many disappointments. We have so many letdowns, right? So to be a Falcon fan, you are a real Falcon fan. I'm just saying it, man. Think about it, right? We have so many letdowns with this team over the years. Um, so if you're here and thinking Falcons on the off season in March, right? And you love the Falcon content, and for all my other fellow content creators out there that comes out here daily and weekly and talk Falcons, respect all you guys as well, because this this is true fanhood. I mean, this, when we talk about fans, anybody's a Falcon fan is true fans. I'm just saying it, because we have no bragging rights on nothing, guys. Right? Right. We can't say, we can't be the Cowboys like we got 5 Super Bowls, even though it was over 3 decades ago. Can't be the Steelers with the Terror Tower because they got 5 Super Bowls, right? We have nothing to brag about. And so if you're a Falcon fan, hey, that's what I like. You hear, right? Um, so I respect you guys coming out, rocking this team. But I'm telling you, it's gonna be sweet. And this the reason I'm still a Falcon fan. Because when we win, when we finally win, we're gonna be able to talk so much shit, right? Because it's gonna mean something to us, man. It's gonna This shit gonna mean something to me, man. Yep, that's what it's gonna be. So, I mean, that's where it really boils down to, man. No other team, right, has been through what our team and our fans have been through, right? We blew a 25-point lead with 15 minutes left in the game. Like, no other team can say no crap in the Super Bowl. No other team. So if you're a Falcon fan, much respect to you. Thank you guys for coming out and kicking with me. You know, every time I get on here, we're going to keep continue doing it, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Respect all you guys, all you fans out there. Hey, when we win, guys, be ready. We're gonna shut Atlanta down, right? That's what I'm talking about. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.